What the film?
Welcome everybody to the next episode of What the Film. Today I am here, joined by obviously my dad Chad. Today is a pretty big episode. We are talking about the summer blockbuster movies. Um,
Blockbusters.
this is
Yes,
a big one. I mean,
it's
right? We can
huge.
talk about a whole bunch of movies and why they're even scheduled during this blockbuster period in the
Yes.
calendar. Do you want to give a little information on that?
Yeah. Well, do you know where I am right now, Tristan?
Where are you at?
I'm standing in line in 1975. A new movie's coming out. The line is around the goddamn corner. The movie is some bloke. It's a movie called Steven Spielberg about a goddamn shark. The line is crazy. I've been here for an hour. It's nuts. Okay? This is what you think about when you think about Blockbuster, at least my generation, right? Studios want to make money. Filmmakers, right? Like you, yourself, myself, other filmmakers, they want to make films. Studios, they want to make money. That's what the whole bottom line is for them, right? So the blockbuster absolutely is what they're after. Okay, it's probably literally somebody's job at the studio to say, "You want me to make your movie? How much money is it going to make me? Is it going to be a blockbuster?" Right?
Right.
Um, so there's a lot we can get into. Obviously, Jaws is considered to be the very first huge blockbuster of all time. Now, that doesn't mean that movies didn't make money prior to Jaws. They
Yeah.
certainly did. Okay, and we can go back. Um, it's funny how, actually, if you really look back into this, the how it sort of evolved, right? So way back in the day, like I'm talking the 30s, summer movies were a big deal. Do you know why?
Hmm.
Because in the movie theaters was the only place you could go to get air conditioning. So people during the hot summer months were like, "Well, yeah, we're going to just spend time in the movie theater."
Hmm.
Um, so summer was always a big thing for them, but then that sort of slipped off, right? And in the summertime, it was actually a little bit less of a time to go to the movies. So back then, we were in the studio realm, right? So we're
Hmm.
talking like 50s and stuff. Um, Studios started to make really big movies. They started to spend a lot of money on huge sets, and it really paid off for them. Right? They made things like Ben Hur. Ben Hur is considered one of the huge money makers of its time, big time blockbuster. Huge sets, huge actors. It was they had a huge chariot race in it. It's actually a fantastic film, but again, it was huge. All right, and studios were like, okay, let's do more of that. Let's make some dough here, and they did. Now, then a movie called Cleopatra came out. Cleopatra was supposed to be one of the biggest movies. They spent a shit ton of money on it, right? Um, it flopped. It did not do very well
Hmm.
at all. In fact, the movie lost money. It almost bankrupt 20th Century Fox, right? So at that point, then they stopped making blockbuster movies. They were like, let's scale this back a little bit, which is a good thing for filmmakers, right? Because what happened because of that is then in the 60s, independent films started to get a little bit more buzz, right? Studios were now making cheaper films, um, which then allowed filmmakers to have their audience, right? So it wasn't just these big studio pieces. You had the likes of Peter Fonda, you had the likes of Jack Nicholson, and some of the other, even Andy Warhol, for crying out loud, were making these films, and that ushered in what you know people call the film school directors. Right, this is the very late '60s, early '70s. You had Scorsese, you had Spielberg, you had Coppola, Brian De Palma, George Lucas. Right, you had those big names, and they changed the game for filmmaking. They were making art films. They were essentially copying foreign films, but making it a little more American.
Hmm.
And things were fine for a little while. And The Godfather actually made a lot of money, so that gave Coppola a lot of steam in the studio world. Then Jaws came out, 1975. So this is where what you know of as the big studio, the big blockbuster comes about, right? So let's roll back. Films, unlike today, films unlike today, didn't get released everywhere, right? When a movie came out, it was not in every theater that you went to. Okay, even in fact, back then they didn't have theaters like you work in. There were no big conglomerate theater places with 24 screens. It was all localized, right? It was all local owned. In cities, there were many theaters, a block away from each other. Most had one or two screens, nothing big or fancy at all. Studios would release the films, obviously, in the bigger cities like New York and LA, and the film would essentially tour, just like a music group, right? It would start in LA, probably go to Montana, Las Vegas, boom, boom, boom. Maybe a month or two later, it'd get to Philadelphia so we could see the movie, right? It was never this big, crazy release, right? Mm-hmm. And that worked for a while. Sid Sheinberg, who was the head of the studio that came out with Jaws, really he believed in it for some reason, right? So it was Universal who released it, and he decided, among some of the other decision makers there, that why not? Let's just release this in 400 screens, right? It was 464 screens or something. Up to that point, studios would only release them at 100 maybe. Now, part of the reason was selfish. Okay, so this almost sort of happened by mistake because Jaws took so long to make and went so over budget that the studio wanted to recoup its money really quickly. Right? They were kind of pissed. They were like, "Hey, wait a minute! I don't want to wait months to get all this money back. Let's do this right now." So they released it in 464 screens. That blew up. I mean, it's the first film to ever make over $100 million. It blew up, obviously. It was a huge lines around the corner, like I said. Now, here's the other interesting thing that caused this. Up until this point, marketing was very simple. It would just be, you'd get a poster here, maybe a little ad here, whatever. In the 70s, guess what everybody started to have in their homes? Television. So what did they say to do? You know what we're going to do? We're going to run a shit ton of ads on TV for Jaws. Okay? That's what really got that ball rolling. So now people, for the very first time, are like, hey, what the hell is this movie? That looks really good. All of them jumped into the studio, or right to the movie theater. So between the marketing, the opening in more screens, made Jaws, and then of course you also have a really effing great movie, right? So
right.
that made everything explode. Now, and not to be not to make a pun, but once those studio execs got the taste of blood in the water there, they knew we have something here, right? So let's do this more often. The very next year, Rocky came out, and that was a huge blockbuster. It was a big movie. Then came a little movie called Star Wars. Okay, it's called Star Wars then. It wasn't called A New Hope. It came out in May of 1977. They didn't believe in it as much as anything else because it was kind of a crazy movie, but they only released it in 32 theaters. By August, it went up to 1,000. And it killed it because people really wanted to see this. Again, because of the marketing. Smartest thing the studio ever did was say, let's have merchandise. Right? Again, TV commercials, television ads, toys. Once they released the toys basically around the same time. So kids could be playing with the toys of Star Wars without ever even seeing the movie. Right?
Right.
And so then you're like, what the hell is this stuff? it garnished all of this insane buzz around the movie. When they first opened it at the Chinese theater, you can have pictures of this, or even probably video. They had C-3PO there, right, with R2-D2. Holy shit! Could you imagine being there the opening day of Star Wars, and here's this robot, and you're like, "What the fuck is this?" Then, of course, the movie blows you away. Of course, one of the greatest cinematic moments of seeing that on the screen, right, and that destroyed the competition. I asked you, I think, last week or something, and actually I have to look at this. We have to look this up. But I asked you today, how long is a movie in a theater, right? How long does that actually happen?
Right.
And, you know, it's only a little bit, right? It's 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Maybe.
It really does depend, though, like, on how well the movie keeps going. I think recently, because I'm very hands-on in the movie business, is Zootopia 2 came out in like early November, maybe mid-November. Obviously, that's one of the Thanksgiving release movies that they do bank on, and that lasted really up until probably I want to say April or March, and
Okay.
that's a while
That's
for at least
quite
like
a
a
few
movie
weeks.
to stay and still do
Sure.
business.
Yeah, no, and that's good, right? The original Star Wars was in for 135 weeks. Um, that's crazy, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it was going until 1978, right? It started in 77, right through 78. Um, it's huge. And now, another caveat to the blockbuster is opening weekend. That's all you hear about right nowadays. Back then, it wasn't such a big deal, but now it's how much is it going to make the opening weekend? Oh, the Spider-Man made 200 million its opening weekend. Whoop-de-doo. Whatever. Why is that important? So here's why. Studios get paid more the first week a movie is out, right? So whatever deal they have with the theaters, even today,
Yep.
let's say the very first week, it's 80% of the profits they get of ticket sales, right? The second week, they might get 70%. And then the third week, they'll only get 50%. The longer the movie stays in the theater, the worse it is for the theater, or for the studio, the better it is for the theater, right?
Yep.
A movie theater would probably want a movie to run. So Zootopia made the theater money.
Yep.
Right? So that's why studios are really only concerned with that opening weekend. That's when they're going to get all their freaking money. They hope to recoup the money that they paid for these movies. Because guess what, Tristan? Movies cost a lot of fucking money.
Mm-hmm. Especially now.
I'm talking millions. Yeah, especially now. Like into the millions, multi-million, right?
Into like the hundreds of millions, really.
Yes. Yeah, not even a little million, like a lot of million. So if you can get that on that opening weekend, whew, hey, you did
Right.
a good job. You're making money. So it's super important, right? Now, a lot of artists and a lot of filmmakers can obviously say, well, that's going to kill the artistic aspect of film, right? If a studio's only job is to make money, and you make a good film and it doesn't do well in the opening weekend, again, that isn't meaning the movie's bad, right? It doesn't mean it's a terrible movie or not well done. It just means the marketing wasn't there, right? People just didn't go see it. So again, that's
And for me, I do obviously 100% agree that movie blockbusters are kind of killing the artistic side of what filmmaking means. But without the blockbuster and without Jaws and without a lot of the things that are making these hundreds of millions of dollars, we don't have that artistic expression to put out in the world. So it's
that could
kind
be
of that one
one way of
thing where you're
looking at
like, it's hurting us, but it's also helping us in a way. Like, so for example, I think to start, it was very artistic, right? Star Wars was an original idea. Jaws was an original idea. Rocky was very artistic into, because I don't really consider them like the big blockbuster movies that we have nowadays, which is just sci-fi, big, um, a spectacle and making a high budget movie. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Then, but that also gives creative help to like a movie like Sinners, where that is an artistic piece that it wasn't a summer blockbuster. It was I think came out in April, but it gives
Right.
more people platforms to actually get stuff made because we're already making so much money in the film business.
Yeah, well, I wonder. Again, it could be a cause and effect, right? If a studio can make that big Star Wars movie,
Hmm.
they'll have money and say, okay, well now we can make this and that,
Right.
possibly. Um, I guess though, sometimes a blockbuster is a surprise, right? So most blockbusters do come from the studio just drilling it down our throat, right? The a new Star Wars movie's coming out. Guess what? I'm going to see it everywhere I go on
Yep.
fucking uh, pizza boxes and cereal boxes and
Yeah.
toys
You're
and
seeing the
commercials.
Mandalorian and Grogu stuff everywhere you
Yeah,
go right now.
it's everywhere you go, right? It's everywhere. So they're banking on that being a a blockbuster,
Hmm.
right? They're literally telling you right now this is a blockbuster, right? Back then, though, Star Wars and some of the other movies, you didn't know that was going to happen, right? It was a surprise. And honestly, Sinners, I didn't think Sinners was going to be this huge thing.
I don't
At the
think
time.
anyone thought it was going to be this huge.
Right.
Globally the biggest movie of last year.
Sure. And again, maybe somebody in the studio did think that and believe that, so that's why it did get a good push. Same with, Iron Man, right? When that first came out, uh, somebody definitely thought, hey, this is going to make us a ton of money,
Yeah.
and they banked on it pretty good, and they were right. Sometimes you're not right, unfortunately, with some of the films, but I wonder how much of the film, how much of the studio. So, for example, Marvel and Disney make what I don't know. What's the new? It's Spider-Man. What?
Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Brand New Day. Think about this. So this is one of the artistic arguments, I guess. They are paying how much money to make that movie, right? How much?
Probably multi-millions.
Let's say $500 million. Why not? It's probably pretty close to that, maybe. If the studio took half of that and made Spider-Man, and took the other 250 million and made littler films, we would have more choices at the movie theater, right? We would be able to get a little bit more artistic with the films. But then again, the studio probably wouldn't make as much. And unfortunately, you kind of need things to put butts in the seats, right? If we were a Renaissance society that was really into art and the art forms, and people would flock to the theaters to see Martin Scorsese's new one or this guy's artistic piece, right?
Yeah.
But we're not, right? We're sort of butts in the seat. We need some quick entertainment. Here's Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what it is now. Because
And
a
that
lot of
is
people just go to the movies to turn off their brain and watch something for 2.5 hours, and
right.
then go right back home and go to work.
Yes. Now the evolution of that is interesting because, again, the studio's job is to make money. They got to. We're trying to make a living here, right? And honestly, any filmmaker should try to make a living doing it. He's going to have to make money, right? That's a hard hustle. Obviously, I'm not very good at that at that turnaround. But throughout the years, as you look, so we're in the '70s and moved into the '80s, right? In the '80s, they tried to make some big things. There was a big movie called Days of Heaven. They put a lot of money into it, which I think was 1980. Flopped horribly. And movies then started to listen to the audience, and that was your blockbusters, right? One of the blockbusters was Top Gun,
Yeah.
right? Not by any stretch of the imagination a Jaws, right, to the level of filmmaking as something so classic, but it was the entertainment, right? Into the '80s, it was almost perfect. The '80s was perfect for the blockbuster because in the 1980s, it was the decade of excess. It was the consumerism to a fault, right? Everybody was buying stuff. malls were popping up everywhere, right? People were buying microwave ovens and all this, this kind of TV and video games coming out. Like things you could get VHSs. Things were progressing in a manner where people were spending money, a lot of it, everywhere, right? Consumerism was at its peak in the 1980s, and so was the movie business, right? There were so many movies. If I look at the movies that are released this year and compare it to the movies that were released in 1984, I think it's completely different. There's so many more movies released. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but I feel like there is because there were just so many hits and so many bangers after time. And there were even cheeseball movies. There was bad movies still in the theater with good runs. Everybody was making money. The studios did the smartest thing they ever did. They said, wait a minute, why are we having the local, Jim Bob's theater on the corner here when we can open one in the mall? Right, let's open a theater with 5 screens in the mall. Because guess where everybody is right now? At the mall. Right? Tristan, literally, my youth on a Friday night was Pop-Up would drop me off at the mall at 5. You'd hang out with your friends. You'd eat at the food court. You'd hang out. Some people would try to talk to girls. I would probably be in the comic store, or the record store. And then at 8, 9 o'clock, whenever the movie starts, you walk over to the movie theater, right? And Papa picks you up at the movie theater at 10, 11. That was your night. It was smart. There was so much money being flowed. So many times you went to see a movie. You went to go see a movie more than once back then. I don't know if people do that today. It's a little difficult to do that today.
Do you know what the funniest part is when you say that? So 2 things. Number 1, I know back then when you went to the mall, you met a girl named 11, and she has superpowers. I know you did.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly
The second thing is, I don't know if you read this article. I saw this on Twitter or something the other day. It's saying that Gen Z is now has the most visits to the movie theater out of any generation ever. And to me, I was like, kind of confused because nowadays it seems like the movie going experience isn't as good as it was, but maybe we're getting back to really what cinema is.
I think perfect. I think it's great. I've actually been this past, I think, 2 years. I've been to the movies more than I have the past 5 years.
Now, is that because I get you free tickets or or?
Probably. But I also see that they're actually doing a lot of older movies too, which I think is a smart.
Yeah.
I wish they would do it all the time. I don't know why they don't. I wish that was like a thing that every movie theater would be playing an old movie at all times.
Right.
Because it's 100% worth it to go see these movies. Again, in the 80s, so 1980s, John Hughes was a huge director. He had hit after hit. I couldn't say they were blockbusters, but they absolutely did well in the theater. But me and Shelby went to go see Pretty in Pink in the theater. My God, it's great. It's still so good in the movies when you see it. So there's something to that. But there were weird in the 1980s. There was so much going on with movies. Like I mentioned when we did the movie of the month. Everything was tied into it. MTV, and literally MTV would have music videos promoting the movies.
Yep.
Right? Ghostbusters had its own music video. They really went all out. Toys, cereal boxes, all kinds of crazy stuff, right?
And that's really what it is too, because they're trying to hit.
Rocky. You know what I mean?
They're trying to hit every market of like everyone. Because people who listen to music might not watch movies. They're like, wait a second, why is Bobby Brown on my screens? Singing a Ghostbusters theme song. I gotta watch this movie.
It's crazy. Yeah, it was a weird time for hey, and all it was go see this movie. That's all it was. It was just a big commercial. That's all we lived within a commercial saying, go to the theater, right? But it was great, and it worked because, man, we talk about blockbusters, right? We're talking some really great ones. I have a list. Hold on. Let's get to the list. This is a crazy list, okay? You definitely probably have not seen all of these, but these are the top money makers. Which I guess that's what we're considering our blockbuster, right? The one that
Yeah.
made the bank, right? Um, okay, 1980, Empire Strikes Back. Well,
Perfect.
duh. Okay, duh. 81, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Mm.
Duh. 82, E.T. So that's the second
Oh
Steven
my
Spielberg.
gosh.
83, Return of the Jedi. Duh. 84, Ghostbusters. What? 85, Back to the Future. 86, Top Gun. 87, now this is, I guess, where things started to get a little too weird. Three Men and a Baby was the best. So I
Okay.
don't know if you've ever heard of Three Men and a Baby. It is three fairly famous people right now. I guess it's kind of a comedy. Well, they have to raise a little baby, and it's kind of the joke. Here's three dudes trying to raise a baby. We'll have to put that on our movie in a month at some point because it's a bizarre movie. I don't know how they got in there as the list, but that's where it is. 88 is Rain Man. Now I love this because this isn't a big production movie. This was actually a very simple drama, a very a great acted, well done movie. So that's weird. 89, Batman. I literally saw it 10 times in the theater.
Best Batman movie, hands down.
Literally saw it 10 times in the theater. That was really one of the things where you said, "What are you doing this weekend?" "Oh, I'm going to go see Batman." "What are you doing next weekend?" "I'm going to go see Batman." "What are you doing the next weekend?" "I'm going to go see Batman." Like literally, that was life for me. I mean, I was the big comic book movie I was at the time. All I was doing was hanging out at comic books. Batman was the huge blockbuster. 1990, Home Alone. Again, a fun family movie, right? That's a fantastic. 91, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Which I actually didn't like that movie compared to the original Terminator, but it did make a lot of money. 92 was Aladdin. So this is the first time we're seeing an
animated film.
An animated film. 93, Jurassic Park. Huh. Dude, this is the time in 93 when special effects were not that cool. This is the first movie that you go to the theater and you're like, did they really bring back dinosaurs? Like, what the hell? It looked so good. And then, of course, it was just a fantastic movie as well. So, awesome. Then you have 94, Lion King. 95, Toy Story. So again, now we're getting, again, think about this from a marketing perspective and filmmaking. If you're going to the movies, if you want to make money at the theater, who do you want there?
Now we want little kids there.
You want kids. You know why? Because they have to buy a ticket. Their mom has to buy a ticket. Their dad has to buy a ticket. Their brother has to buy a ticket. Their friend has to buy a ticket. Boom. You have 5 tickets right there. Right? You're not getting that with a Brian De Palma film. Okay? So, 96, Independence Day.
Okay.
It was huge at the time, right? Aliens, and it was exciting. Will Smith was a huge star at the time. Again, the marketing was great for it. In fact, from what I remember of that, the original trailer showed you nothing except for the moon. Right, the very opening of the movie is the moon and the shadow of the spaceship, right, going over the moon. And like that was it. That's all you got. And you're like, whoa, shit, what's this? 97 was Titanic. That is one of the movies that they spent, again, so much money on. It was a huge gamble.
Was that the first movie to make $1 billion? Because I feel like
I think so. You know, a funny story actually about this movie, Titanic. Somebody on set, one of the people who dealt with the food, you know, like the catering, somebody laced it with PCP. And everybody on set got super high.
Oh my gosh.
And they were freaking out. Like they were literally like, holy shit, are people going to die? Like it was nuts. It's a crazy story. You look it up. Like they were all high as hell, you know, because they all
I can only imagine.
PCP. on the set. So that was crazy. 98 is Saving Private Ryan. I mean, again, that was just a heart wrenching story.
Yeah.
Beautifully made. Again, it was Steven Spielberg. I don't know. He has so many on this
I
list.
feel like he's just the blockbuster king at this point.
Yeah, he's just he can do no wrong filmmaking wise. Obviously, 99, The Phantom Menace.
Amazing
Again,
movie.
I know that we've had certain discussions about this, but the marketing. Again, I think what really drives a blockbuster does have to do with marketing. Before the movie came out, you just had the trailer, and you're like, "Oh my God, there's a new Star Wars." At least for me, love the toys. Had all the toys. Walmart had a big tent right in their parking lot, and boom, lines around the corner. You're picking up all the toys before the movie comes out, right? If you can get that buzz before it, boom, you're doing good. Look how long nowadays the blockbusters are. You see a trailer a year before it even comes out,
Yep.
right? My good, I see a trailer for Spider-Man: Brand New Day or whatever, and coming out in 2027. You're like, what? 2000 was How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I'm going to go through the rest of them rather quickly because obviously you know most of them. Harry Potter was 2001. Spider-Man was 2002. Again, big gamble because up to that point, you know, the Marvel or the comic book movies were not a guarantee to make a lot of money, and that was a huge gamble. It was Sam Raimi though, so you can't go wrong with Sam Raimi. 2003 was Return of the King, which is interesting because that's like the third one, right? Like you would think the initial one would have done something, but whatever. 2004 was Shrek 2, which is weird. That's an odd one, I think.
I love that movie.
It is a good movie. 2005 was Episode 3, the Revenge of the Sith. 2006 was Pirates of the Caribbean's Dead Man's Chest. It's weird that the first Pirates...
That's also interesting, yeah.
Because, I mean, that was a blockbuster as well. I guess it wasn't the top moneymaker, but it's definitely on the list. At that time, Johnny Depp was a damn juggernaut of anything he came out with. People were like, yeah, okay, Johnny Depp. Yes. You know, he was perfect in every way.
He still is.
And still is. Luckily, he didn't just do, blockbuster movies. He was, took his art seriously and was afforded to do other things that weren't just blockbuster. And I have to say, honestly, most of the people who are in these movies, that's not what they're about, right? They're not, I'm just going to be a blockbuster dude. They, these are real actors, real directors and writers, and they want to make just a good film. I loved DiCaprio. He was in Titanic, and everybody was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, he's going to be the hot, beautiful dude forever." And he said, "No, I want to make films."
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's just a great thing because it means to the average moviegoer, they think these superstars are just superstars, but they're artists. These are real people trying to craft something, right? And I think everybody can forget that easily because there's so much. Oh, this guy's dating this person and whatever. But I love that. I love hearing that. All of these people. They're actors that just happen to be in a movie that made a lot of money.
They got like a lucky break.
Right. It isn't anything other than that. 2007 was Spider-Man 3. 2008 was The Dark Knight. 2009 was Avatar. 2010, Toy Story 3. 2011 was Deathly Hallows. 2012 was The Avengers. That's a movie? I don't know.
This guy.
2013 is The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, which I guess is the second or third.
I have no idea.
I'm not well versed in that. 2014 is American Sniper. Now this is interesting. If you really look at some of the blockbusters and what was happening in the world at that time, can explain it. So American Sniper, 2014, I have to assume there were not many big hits coming out during that time.
That's crazy.
But American Sniper, there was this big war. There was we were kind of going back and forth, Republican, Democrat, You had George Bush, and then you had Obama, and there was this air of conservatism that was starting to come back around and kind of get back in power as it is today. That's a start of it, right? American Sniper was about a very conservative sniper who, they're very pro-military, even if the person, and there was a lot of controversy with this because this guy in real life might not have been a very good person. I don't know. I can't speak to that, but there was some controversy on it. So, but look at that. If you look at that reflection of society, after 2014, American Sniper, #1 movie, all of a sudden, we are now living in this world where there is this huge conservatism and Trumpism and things. And if you look back at the movies, you're going to be able to see that, right? So I think that's something interesting to always kind of look at.
And I just got to say, I'm looking at the 2014 highest grossing movies, and I don't know why, but The Winter Soldier came out, Guardians of the Galaxy came out, X-Men Days of Future Past came out, the Lego Movie, the final Hunger Games, well, the final one with Jennifer Lawrence, and a Transformers movie came out. And American Sniper beat all of them.
Right.
So that's crazy.
And then so again, if you really think about it in society, people were questioning, well, how did this Trump thing happen? Why is everybody? How did 50% of the whole country vote for Trump and this type of stuff? They told you that back in 2014 because they bought all these tickets to go see American Sniper, right? Literally, it was out in plain sight. We saw this coming. Right? Look at the art. Look at what's happening with art. You're gonna then find out what's happening with society, right? So that's crazy, right? And then, so we obviously you get into a bunch of other Star Wars, Black Panther in 2018. Again, if you think about it, what was going on in 2018? You had Black Lives Matter. You had a bunch of incidents that affected society, and then you also have a really great film. On top of that, comic book movie that is now becoming super popular.
And this it's the first black superhero to have a mainstream movie since Blade in 1990 something.
Yes.
So,
can I tell you something funny? And I don't tell anybody this, but when I saw Blade, I did not pay for my ticket. What you used to do, and I hope you catch people who do this in the theater, but what we used to do would buy a ticket earlier in the day to a different film, and we would go see. I don't even remember the movie that I saw that day. It was some other movie. We watched that movie. You go hang out in the hallway for a little bit. Oh, Blade's going to come up in 30 minutes. You sneak into that theater, and then you watch Blade, right? So you sort of circumvent that, and that's how I actually saw Blade.
Sure.
Sort of hiding in the theater. Don't tell anybody that, though. So Black Panther was, again, I think that was a surprise. I don't think the studios definitely pushed it. They knew it would be big. I don't think they did know it was going to be that big.
No, yeah, because I will say, from all these blockbusters that you're saying, the only movie from the MCU that I heard was the Avengers.
Right.
So it's kind of crazy that
it was then 2019.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man: No Way Home was 2021.
There's no blockbuster in 2020 because of the pandemic, correct?
Well, it lists Bad Boys for Life, which I guess is the third Bad Boys movie, right? That's but yeah, I'm assuming
It probably didn't make. It probably only made a couple 100,000. Probably never crossed a million.
Yeah. And then you have Top Gun. You have Barbie. It's funny. Top Gun was actually on there twice, so that's.
Well, I think also Top Gun Maverick, I think, brought a lot of people back into the theaters because 2021 wasn't that great. And, Top Gun is obviously a history with blockbusters, so bringing him back, I think Tom Cruise saved the cinema.
I probably agree. And I think, at this time, there is definitely a fatigue of Marvel, right? They still were making great movies. I'm not saying the movies aren't good, but I think there's a fatigue, and people like, what else is out there other
Right.
than Marvel? You have Barbie was 2023, brilliant movie, right on point. The only way to make a Barbie movie was to do it that way, I think. 2024 was Inside Out. 2025, I didn't have that.
I feel like that's probably Lilo and Stitch, but
It could be. It could be. I don't know. But I think it's an interesting list. Now let's throw this list. The ones that didn't. So the movies that did not make the blockbuster that everybody either thought they were, or the studio thought, or they just put way too much money into it. Obviously, the first one was Cleopatra. Literally, almost killed 20th Century Fox. It eventually did recoup itself, just because of video rentals and TV deals and all that stuff. Another very famous one was a movie called Waterworld. 1995. It was Kevin Costner. It's a weird story, but it lost like $30 million or $300 million. Like it did very poorly. Or it lost a ton of money, but they spent $300 million on it. Nobody went to go see it. It was a sham. Alexander was another one in 2004. 2001, Ali actually did not make a lot of money. Battlefield Earth, which is John Travolta, that was an L. Ron Hubbard movie, or L. Ron Hubbard book that they thought would be really good, lost a ridiculous amount of money. Black Adam.
Oh, terrible movie.
Was and again, so if you think about it, sometimes it's just that the push was too much and they were overconfident. The movie's okay, but it wasn't, blockbuster status. Sometimes the movies are just terrible and they put way too much into it, right? Cats was another one. Everybody thought that was going to be huge, and why would you think that's going to be huge? Nobody thought. And so that did horrible. One we saw, I think, in the theater was Dark Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
That did not do as well. The Flash was one, right? Where they thought one that almost killed careers was Giglia. This was Jennifer Lopez and Batman.
Ben Affleck. Okay.
Ben Affleck. They were a couple at the time, so everybody thought this was going to be a big deal. So old school Hollywood thinking, hey, put them in a movie together. The movie did very, very, very bad. In fact, it almost killed. So Kevin Smith had a movie coming out with Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck called Jersey Girl. Almost killed that movie completely. In fact, I don't think that movie did very well because of Giglia. Green Lantern. Hello.
Yep.
Hey, let's cash in on the superhero thing. Guess what? Nope. In 1980, there was a movie called Heaven's Gate that everybody thought was going to be super huge. It was not. Hudson Hawk in 1991. This was a Bruce Willis vehicle where, he was kind of a spy dude. Did very poorly, almost killed his career. John Carter, I think we mentioned at a different time. Everybody, I don't even know what that's about or what the deal is with that. But
I don't want to know.
It was huge. There were toys for it. I remember that. Lone Ranger. Speaking of
Johnny Depp, I like that movie though.
Wild Wild West.
Yep.
It was with Will Smith again. I actually thought it wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't worth the time in the theater, I suppose. Now, the biggest one, in my consideration, is a movie called Ishtar, 1987. It is Dustin Hoffman and, Warren Beatty. It was a comedy where essentially they go to, they're two songwriters who basically stumble upon a Cold War standoff in the middle of the desert. Now, here's the funny part about this movie. They basically did the movie because they were sort of in debt to the writer. So the person who actually directed, Elaine May, she wrote parts of Tootsie, and she wrote parts of Heaven Can Wait for Warren Beatty. So Dustin Hoffman, Tootsie, owed her some debt. Warren Beatty owed her some more debt. So they're like, okay, we're going to do this movie. And it went hugely out of budget. I mean, hugely out of budget. They literally, instead of filming in the States, they were like, no, let's actually go to the Middle East. Well, guess what? First week of shooting, an Israeli missile smashes into a Palestine city. By the way, kind of sounds familiar what's happening today, because them two have been fighting for like ever. And then, you know, they finished the film. It was so bad that Coca-Cola, which was the parent company of Columbia, basically was like, we're gonna break off Columbia into its own little division, and then they sold it to Sony like right off that. After that, they're like, screw it, we're selling this whole company because that movie tanked so poorly. So I think it's still actually an interesting movie to watch, just because I love Dustin Hoffman. And Warren Beatty actually is really good. But the movie definitely didn't do what it was supposed to do.
Yikes.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, you know, that's, you know, when I don't know, that's some stories. So here's some behind the scenes stuff.
Oh boy.
I mentioned the Titanic thing, right? So this is,
Yep.
And this is the kind of stuff that I love, Tristan, because like right, when we've done even our short films, right, there's just little goofy stories, right, that we can tell, and things that happen. I think that's what always kind of makes this whole Hollywood narrative interesting, is the strange things, right? So in Titanic, yeah, somebody laced the food with PCP. One of my favorite stories of a blockbuster is Raiders of the Lost Ark. I don't know if you know this story. So you remember Raiders of the Lost Ark, right?
Of course.
So there's a scene where Indiana Jones is chasing, you know, the bad guys, or he's trying to get back to Marion or save her. And there's a crowd of people who disperse, and there's this guy with a sword, right?
Yep. I've heard of this story, yes.
And he just shoots him, right? No more fighting. He's just, F it, I'm going to shoot him, right? So it's because, right, he had huge diarrhea that day, right? He was sick as hell, diarrhea, going crazy, and they're trying to get this fight scene going, and, you know, Harrison Ford just like, why don't I just shoot him, right? That's hilarious, right? And it's funny because Harrison Ford actually takes two of these backward stories, right? These things that weren't supposed to happen but did happen, right? So there's that scene. Empire Strikes Back, which was directed by Ivan Kershner. You know, he wanted this big dramatic thing for when Han Solo was going to get, you know, frozen in carbonite. And obviously the line was, I love you and I love you back, right? Basically. It wasn't working, right? They tried it a few times and Harrison's like, this ain't working out. So he's the one who came up with, I know, right? You know, this dude is kind of a dick. He's going to have this, I know. You're right. So that's perfect. The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, right? Jim Carrey, huge blockbuster. That movie made so much money. It was huge. It was in the theater for a while too, I believe. So Jim Carrey had to put on so much makeup. It took 8 hours, right? First of all, can you imagine just sitting in a chair for 8 hours getting on makeup? The studio actually had to bring in a CIA operative who was talented in the ways of torture to help Jim Carrey deal with being tortured like that. Like how to, you know, psychologically not go crazy.
And came up with a brilliant idea, which was to hire a gentleman who is trained to teach CIA operatives how to endure torture. And so that's how I got through the Grinch. I would like,
Good gig.
It was quite hilarious. He said, eat everything you see. And if you're freaking out and you start to spiral downward, turn the television on, change a pattern, have someone you know come up and smack you in the head.
Jurassic Park. there was a hurricane while they were filming, right? So they had to evacuate. The funny story is that the helicopter operator that saved everybody and took them off the island is the same helicopter operator that's in the very beginning of the movie flying into the thing. Right? So he's actually in the movie, but he actually does really save them in real life. So that's weird. You're going to love this one. Well, maybe. So, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It was filmed actually in Germany.
Yep.
I don't know if you knew that, right? So it was filmed actually in Germany 25 years after World War II. They couldn't find little people to play the Oompa Loompas in Germany because the Nazis in World War II killed them all. There were no little people in Germany.
Oof.
So they couldn't find any, right? That's crazy. Could you imagine, like, you're there filming, you're like, hey, we just need to find some little people. They're all over the place. Guess what? The Nazis didn't think so. That's a crazy story to me, right? So I love all these weird, backstage type.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't even imagine that.
Yeah, these are things that you don't really think about when you're watching movies, right? So, that's my spiel about the plot.
I mean, yeah, I knew about the Harrison Ford stuff, and I think he just made those scenes 10 times better because those movies are one of the better scenes in the movie. So,
oh, it's great. Oh, it's perfect. It's hilarious. What do you think is going to be the next? So obviously Spider-Man's coming out, right? That's why we're focusing
like the
on
next blockbuster this year.
Yeah, I mean, is it just going to be Marvel? Is there
No,
anything?
no, it's going to be Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, 1000%.
There you
That's
go.
going to do amazing. The marketing for that is heavy. Heavy.
Again, it's always about the
Because, like you said, that trailer came out last year. The poster and all the marketing came out last year. So we've been seeing this for almost a full year.
And I love
The tickets, hold on. The tickets for the 70 millimeter IMAX showing on like the opening day was announced, and tickets went on sale last year. Like, this has been a long going thing.
Is it? Do you know if that's going to be one movie? 'Cause it's one story.
Probably. It's probably going to have to be one movie. Nolan, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But, yeah, The Odyssey, Spider-Man. Steven Spielberg has a new movie coming out called Disclosure Day. That's also probably going to be doing well.
And we know how well he does at the box office.
Yeah.
By the list. Yeah, no, I'm excited about that too.
Yeah, that looks really... It's another, like, a alien-esque flick that's
Yeah.
just up Spielberg's alley.
Again, I mentioned, look at what society's doing. There's a lot of stuff in the news about, Trump's going to release alien files and this stuff. Boom! I'm telling you, it's all
linked.
together.
Yeah.
It's all linked. We're living in a commercial. That's it. We're all
Basically.
living in a commercial to go see this movie. That's it. No, it's perfect. Yeah, I'm excited about them.
And also, I guess don't sleep on Toy Story 5 coming out because, you said Toy Story a couple times in the year, so we'll see about that one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's gonna kill. It's gonna kill.
But yes, boom, now it is time. Small screen, spotlight. Do you have any on your mind at the moment, or do you want me to take it away?
Go ahead. Please, you do.
So, I'm not going to lie. I forgot about this leading up to this episode. So I didn't have a TV show in mind at all. And then I did remember, I know this episode is going to come out after it comes out. But in May, the regular show, The Lost Tapes, is coming out. It's a new season of regular show. And obviously, if you know me, my favorite show of all time, period, is regular show. I don't even know, how this show even came about. I know just watching it growing up and obviously loving it, and then rewatching it at my older age of 21, you kind of see the adult jokes thrown in there. You see all of just these dumb idiot slackers that are going to work, and you're like, damn, I kind of feel bad for Benson. He's trying to be a good boss, and these idiots aren't doing nothing.
Right.
But then I also just kept looking up J.G. Quintel, who's the creator of regular show, and Sam Martin. Sam Martin is the voice of Pops, of Muscle Man, and a whole bunch of other characters in the show. They went to school together, and they made short films kind of like how you were doing, but he made like artist animation short films, and he made this short called 2 in the AM PM, and also The Naive Man from Lollyland, and a lot of those things that they take from there, what they take from regular show, or they put into regular show. So I just thought it was very interesting that he's always worked on regular show since
Yeah.
his time in college and working on there. So
I think that's awesome. It's such a great show. I mean, I remember when it came on. You were super young. We're watching. I'm like, what the hell is this damn show? But man, it was so entertaining. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
There were definitely things in there for me. The references are great. The characters are great. Oh my goodness,
dude, the soundtrack, like every episode has a song that is just amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. The stories, I think, were great. It was so out of this world, right?
Yeah.
Always in other dimensions. There's all kinds of crazy stuff to it. It's almost, I don't know. It's sort of Cheech and Chong-ish, right?
Right, like stoner kind of vibe.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, no, I think that's a great show. Definitely a top.
Yeah, I love regular shows so much. And the new series that's coming out isn't like a sequel. It isn't like a prequel. It's not like taking a character and making his own show. It's just lost episodes that they're calling it from the series. So we're still in that universe. So I really like that. I'm looking forward to that 100%.
Perfect. Nice. So that's your favorite show.
Oh, dude, 100%, hands down.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to switch mine then. I'm gonna have to talk about Lost.
Oh boy. All right, let me sit down for an hour.
Right. I'm gonna make this as brief as I can, because we could do a whole episode, and I'm sure we're going to do a whole episode on Lost. Maybe even just the merchandise of Lost I have. Lost is the greatest show ever concocted on any medium ever. My opinion, obviously, people can disagree. A lot of people don't like the ending because it's, at the time it was built up, so there's definitely going to be a letdown side, but not to me. I think the ending is perfect in every sense of the thing. You need to absolutely watch Lost. I've seen it the most I've seen of anything ever. When it first came out in 2004, by the way.
Wow.
So the show has mystery. The show has religion. It goes over every religion. It goes over every kind of science. It goes over literature. There's so much wrapped into it. You can watch it over and over again and see different things in the background of this. This is from this book and this is from this science or whatever. Essentially, the show is a group of people have a plane crash onto an island, a mysterious island. They don't know where it is. There's a spinal surgeon. There's a rock star. There's, a criminal. There is a grifter. There's an Iraqi soldier. Right? They're all together. And you learn their stories because each episode focuses on one character and their backstory. Right? So it does a flashback to them before they got on the plane. And you slowly learn that they're all kind of related. And, not blood related, but
Right.
they've definitely crossed paths before. There's some weird thing going on. And then also within the island itself, there's a whole lot of mystery, right? There's a whole nother group that's there. There's underground science things. There's all kinds. There's a smoke monster that comes out of nowhere. There's all kinds of crazy things, and it goes on for 6 seasons. One of the great things is that the writers knew it was going to be 6 seasons. They knew the ending from the beginning. At the end of the 6 seasons, it's just one of the most beautiful things ever. They didn't. Do they answer every mystery? No, of course not. But that wasn't the point, right? The point isn't to answer every mystery. It's the journey, right, that you go on here with the people that you are doing it with. So, hands down, I've watched it. When it first came out, this is when the internet was kind of newish, right? And you had everybody that watched it all of a sudden became a community. So this is my favorite part about Lost is you'd watch the episode, you'd watch it again, probably watch it a third time, right, during that week. You'd get online into these message boards where a whole bunch of people were talking about it. Everybody's theorizing, right? They watched it and they're, oh, we think this and this. Everybody had these, this was the first show that was super interactive, and the audience talked to each other online about it. I've met so many people from all over the world. I'm talking from England, from Canada. These people literally became my friends, right? They've seen you grow up, Tristan, literally. I know these people since 2004, and we became, friends. We've never really met in real life, but in, Facebook and whatever, they've seen you grow up. Some of them have bought our merchandise, right? They've bought my books. They've actually bought Little Detective T-shirts, right? And they're fantastic people. And we've grown this bond just because of this TV show, right? It's literally one of the most beautiful things that you have somebody that you don't even know that you can just always say, well, we'll quote something from Lost, right? And boom, you're absolutely back there, right? They did this thing on Lost 2 that was amazing. In between every season, they would have online games, like an alternate reality where like you can go on and get little clues for the show, right? You go to this website and you do this little puzzle, and it will show you something video. They'll give you a clue to this thing. The mystery was so broad that you could watch this over and over and over and over and still pick up on something new. So again, I know some people don't like the ending, but I feel like those people are missing the point of the show, because the ending is will make me cry every single time. Every single time. I absolutely implore you to watch it. That's my Lost thing. We'll definitely go into deep.
Right. We have to.
Toys. For sure.
But all right. Well, that is the small screen spotlight, and I think now we can throw it over to the movie of the month.
Yeah, what movie?
Movie of the month? What the film?
Oh yeah, what the film? There you go. Okay, we got it.
What the film's movie of the month?
Ooh. Movie of the month. One of my favorites. Thank God it fell on this one and not
right.
Thank God. So Beverly Hills Cop 2. Bro. Beverly Hills Cop 2 is a great film. It's again totally 1980s, right? This is the excess 1980s. It was car crashes,
right?
Boobs.
Yep.
Great music, a killer soundtrack. Eddie Murphy at the height of his game, right? Eddie Murphy was he wasn't even 21 when he started SNL. He was a little kid starting on SNL, became this huge hit. One of Pop-Up's favorite SNL cast members was Eddie Murphy. He had some of the greatest skits, funniest dudes. He played James Brown. He played Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. He played Gumby. Go back and watch some of his Saturday Night Live skits. It's 1,000 times better than almost anybody has done on Saturday Night Live. Fantastic. He was a stand-up comedian, right? One of the best stand-up comedians. He does a killer Richard Pryor impression, a killer Bill Cosby impression. He was a very dirty comic, right? Back then, it was starting to get to the, everything was very family-oriented, right? But then in the 80s, it started to get a little unfamily.
Right.
Kids were starting to see things they normally wouldn't see, right, in movies and comedy. And he was dirty, right? Where you had to hide his record. Like, if you were listening to his stuff, you had to be like, I'm not listening to Eddie Murphy. But he became super famous. He had two fantastic stand-up shows on HBO, Raw and Delirious. You have to see them, Tristan. Some of the greatest stand-up there is. Then, of course, he goes to Hollywood, right? He does a movie called 48 Hours. He does Beverly Hills Cop. Bam. 2 big movies and 2 great movies. They're hilarious. Then he does the sequels to them. There's another 48 Hours, and there is Beverly Hills Cop 2, which we just watched. Another 48 Hours, I think, is the one that has a scene. You have to watch that as well, because there's a scene where he's basically is in a bar, and he's pretending to be a cop in front of a whole bunch of white bikers, and he's basically just like, I hate white people. He's on this whole tirade. It's hilarious. Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Yeah, that movie is phenomenal.
It's great on every level. It's funny. It's serious. It takes itself very seriously, which I think is important for. It's not just here's Eddie Murphy being funny. It's a real story. He's actually solving a murder, right? I think it's great. The soundtrack is great. The mystery is great. Who killed it? He solves this crime. Is it outlandish? Of course it is. They're fucking just shooting people willy nilly. It's like Bad Cops, right?
Right.
But it's still great. Funniest thing to me about this is, so back to the Stranger Things thing, right? In my neighborhood, there was me, Seth, as you know, a good friend of ours, basically my brother, and another kid named Bruce of the neighborhood. We would play, and we would play movies. Okay, we would obviously be playing Star Wars all the time, right? We would play with our G.I. Joe figures. We would play Indiana Jones and pretend we're in Jaws and whatever. That was our life in the neighborhood. We also played Beverly Hills Cop 2. So we were little kids acting out that movie as if we were Eddie Murphy in the movie.
That's so funny.
Little kids were sitting there doing, bitch,
Right.
easy that we did that, and that was how popular this movie was. I think it was fantastic. The Bob Seger song is great. It's one of my favorite. The Shakedown. Obviously, the Pointer Sisters do the original song that's also in this. Herbie Hancock's. Dun, 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 dun.
I don't know if there's any like theme song music that's better than Axel F. The theme song.
Yeah.
That is so good.
Herbie Hancock was a genius at the time. Herbie Hancock was like groundbreaking for music, and yeah, it's perfect. Eddie Murphy's great in it. Everybody, the captains again. So, Little Detectives. Some of that was taken. Some of the captain and the Little Detectives was obviously taken from this film.
And I can see a little bit of Taggart and Billy from me and Ethan's character too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
A lot of
Yeah,
reluctant from Taggart and
yeah, we love
the free-spirited Billy.
It's so well written too. Taggart had to be reluctant in everything. It always had to be, come on, Axel.
Right.
No, Axel, no way. No, we're not doing that. And then, yeah, you're going to do it. And, I mean, if you think about that, that's completely what Stranger Things did, right? Come on, we got to do this. No, I'm scared. No, come on. That's you get that comedic tension by doing that. And then it also makes Eddie Murphy look super effing cool.
Yep.
He's just going to walk into this place and do whatever he wants, right? So I think, yeah, the whole power of that movie is its comedy, is its being very serious, but also making you, should I, shouldn't I? Yeah, you should.
I think the funniest part about this movie too is he's doing the whole investigation while in a Detroit Lions jacket, which is just like, what? Obviously he's from Detroit, so he's gonna wear a Lions jacket.
Right, it's super simple. Yeah, if I'm going to Beverly Hills to be a cop, I'm gonna be sporting the Eagles jersey.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's so simple. It's just that reminder. Like, here's Beverly Hills, and here's all the hot blondes and boobies and cocaine. I'm from Detroit. I'm a guy from the street, right? This is literally, and think about this too. Up to this point, there was no black superstars. There was no super hit black actors, right? It was, he literally and figuratively invaded white space.
Yeah.
he came right into the white world and said, "I'm here. Fuck it. I'm coming right in. Whether you want me to or not, I'm going to break in."
He broke in and stole the house.
And rule stole the house and rule the world, and he did, and he does that in the movie. In the movie, he literally comes in. It's like, hey, this is the way world. Let me show you how it's done, and he did that then through comedy and through society. Again, this is the times when Michael Jackson, Madonna, things were really rapidly changing in the culture and in entertainment. It was no longer this old school thing. It was this young, hip MTV, and black culture came right in.
Yeah.
It's always been there. But I don't think he really took control and just was like, you know what, we're going to do this my way. And the movie shows it. It's so good. I love that fucking movie. I love every single person in that movie.
Yeah, it's so good. But with that, we almost end the episode, but we got to do one more thing. Movie of the month. We're going to spin the wheel of cinema. And we were talking a little bit about superhero movies being blockbusters.
Yeah.
And obviously with Spider-Man Brand New Day coming out in July, we're going to talk about everything superheroes.
Superheroes.
That probably consumed 90% of my life.
Yes.
So now...
I agree with that.
So now we're going to dedicate a whole episode towards it. Not just like Spider-Man, but obviously DC, Marvel, independent comics, and everything in between. So, what are your 2 picks for the movie of the month next episode?
So, I wanted to do films that were superheroes, not really related to the juggernauts.
That is Marvel and DC.
That is Marvel and DC. And I also don't remember... I've seen these movies, but I don't remember much.
Okay.
So it's going to be a refresher. One is Hancock, which is...
Will Smith.
Will Smith, Charlize Theron. He's a drunk superhero. Basically, that's the story.
Yeah.
My second one is Mystery Men, which is a Ben Stiller. Pee Wee Herman is in it. From what I remember, it's basically just a bunch of weird superheroes that get together as in an Avenger-style scenario.
Yeah.
I think it's a comedy. I don't know if it's a super funny comedy, but I think it's, so we'll see.
All right. My 2. So one of them is a James Gunn directed movie, but it's not the ones that you're thinking. It's a 2010 action comedy Super, starring Rainn Wilson.
Rainn Wilson from The Office.
So that's kind of another, very... I mean, I've never seen it, so it's supposed to be hilarious and kind of a spoof.
He's a funny guy.
So, yeah, and James Gunn is probably one of the best superhero directors ever, so...
Yeah. Oh, hands down.
We'll see about that. And then...
Very smart brother, too, by the way.
You said what?
His brother is very smart.
Yeah.
He goes on Jeopardy, so I know.
He is. And then, this next one
Oh, no.
is the 1977 Spider-Man movie.
Where he climbs up the wall.
Yeah, the climbs up the wall and it looks awful. I
And
mean,
he
listen.
has the shooters, right? He has
Yeah.
the shooters.
I think when you're talking about superhero movies, I think the first thing you think of is Spider-Man. Probably not 1977 Spider-Man, but just Spider-Man in general. And I think he's probably the biggest superhero of all time. Him and Batman are kind of a 1A, 1B, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yo,
So,
heads up.
yeah, and obviously Spider-Man 1997 is probably a goofy one. So
Up until 1989, you do realize that Spider-Man was my standard for the superhero movie.
really, you didn't even watch the Christopher Reeve Superman?
No, the Christopher Reeves, yes, but this was my standard Marvel movie.
Okay.
Okay, man. I. Okay.
So yeah, we got some interesting choices here. So we're gonna go ahead and spin this wheel
I
and see what it
almost do
lands
want
on.
I almost do want it to get onto the 77 Spider-Man.
Boom! We're watching Hancock.
Oh, okay, okay. I haven't seen that in a very.
I haven't seen it at all, but Hancock, the Will Smith superhero movie.
Yeah. Okay.
So that'll be interesting. And then yeah, next episode we'll talk about a whole bunch of superhero movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
That's going to be a long conversation, I fear.
I can go on quite a bit.
But yes, but with that being said, I think talking about summer blockbusters this year specifically, go out and watch movies.
Yes.
Mandalorian is coming out. Toy Story is coming out. A
see a movie.
whole bunch of other blockbusters that are coming out. So go into the cinema and watch it. But don't do what Chad did and snuck around. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do that. It was a long time ago.
But with that being said, we hope you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Look out for other special presentation episodes coming out. And listen to us on Spotify. We got it up on Spotify. So like, comment, share, subscribe.